Hello everyone, welcome back to the MCFC Lads Podcast. We're on to episode 11 now. Coming up, we've got our Premier League predictions. I'm of course joined by our co-host Alex. How are we doing, mate?
Hello everyone. Still in Turkey, but coming home soon, ready for the new season. Nearly here.
Yeah, what have you been up to, mate? Just chilling?
Just chilling still, absolutely nothing going on. I saw you at Chorley yesterday,
Yeah.
So very interested. Football's nearly back.
Yeah, it was a big...
but just waiting, to be honest.
Big day yesterday. He was on the overlap, fighting obviously City's corner, and then I went to Chorley away with the City under-21s. I've actually made a bit of a vlog for that, so keep your eyes peeled. It was pretty good fun. Big Steve, few other characters featuring in that. So yeah, make sure you check that out when it does land. But the main thing on the agenda for this episode is, of course, our Premier League predictions. We're going to be going from 20 all the way up, with a little bit of spiel about each team, how we think they're going to do. We've also got the final quiz of this series, if you want to call it that. There was obviously 5 quizzes each. Alex needs all 5 to draw. Is that right? Something like that?
5 wins.
5 to win and 4 to draw. So that will be interesting anyway. But yeah, so we got our quiz coming up. We're going to obviously kick it off with a bit of the just random news that's coming out. Jack Grealish potentially going on loan to Everton. What do you make of that?
It's inevitable he's going to be leaving City this summer at some point. It will most likely be on loan. Obviously Everton have gone for Tyler Dibblin this summer. It's not worked out. So Grealish at Merseyside does make sense. He lives in Manchester, so he could stay in his house.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. It'd be a good signing for Everton. He has to go at some point, so if it's to Everton, I'm all for it.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll ask is, obviously we got Vitor Reis and Echeverri, and both of them are kind of sniffing around deals to Girona on loan. And this Rice one, or however you want to say it, Reis, I've heard every pronunciation under the sun. But you know who I'm on about. I think that one makes sense, but Echeverri, the one, it doesn't seem to be happening, that one. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the Rice one, or however you say his name, that makes complete sense. We said last week in the squad video, the squad podcast, that he needs minutes, so it makes sense for him to go away. Girona is a place where he'll be playing good football, it's CFG, all of that. Echeverri, I get why he's wanted to Girona. Apparently he's got his eyes on the World Cup next year, so it does make sense. He wants a Premier League move, so I'll be interested to see if that does come to fruition or not. I really can't see him staying at City though, so it'll be interesting to keep an eye on sort of what does end up happening with that. What do you think? Yeah,
I think he's an absolute baller, to be fair. I think in 2 or 3 years, I think he'd hopefully be in our side, starting and stuff, but I just think he's so young and raw and he needs minutes. So, yeah, I think a loan somewhere in the Premier League would make sense, but then, I don't know, we'll see what happens. I would like to see him go out on loan to someone in the Premier League, but it's just whether that'll be the right move for him. If they're not dominating the ball and playing like City do, is it going to make a lot of sense? Maybe not. But we'll see. So yeah, that's sort of all that's on the agenda. There was that open training session yesterday as well. City obviously take on Palermo on Saturday evening, so we'll talk about that after we've done our Premier League predictions. But without further ado, Alex, I want you to reel me off. Well, actually, I just want you to tell me your number 20 in the league. Who's finishing 20th?
My number 20 is one of the promoted teams. I'm going to go for Burnley because of just a lack of business.
Yeah.
I can't see Burnley doing too well next season.
And I've also gone with Burnley in 20th. So the reason I think Burnley are coming 20th is because they've lost one of their biggest assets in James Trafford. And I was on the overlap yesterday, and you'll be maybe surprised to hear that every single person piled onto me when I said he was going to do well. Jamie Carragher seems to think he will be looking for a new keeper in 12 months. I said that he'll be fighting and challenging Edison. And basically we'll be on it'll be on our agenda to have him number 1, James Trafford, by the end of the season. Edison potentially leaving. So yeah, everyone piled on. Paul Scholes seemed to think that goalkeeper was a big issue last season, which I can understand given, Edison was in and out of the team with injuries and stuff like that. But I think James Trafford's going to be the business, and hopefully we prove him wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. I'm surprised, to be honest, that people are so shocked and sort of underrating him, to be honest. I thought he was higher rated than that sort of publicly, but I'm looking forward to him proving everyone wrong, hopefully. Yeah,
the problem is with Trafford, I think a lot of people just see him as that slightly weaker goalkeeper that was in the Premier League 2 years ago.
Yeah,
they've not watched
100%.
him in the Championship, they've not absorbed any of his kind of journey as a player, and I think he's going to be unbelievable for City. And yeah, he's 6'6", only conceded 16 last season, nearly 30 clean sheets. I know it's the Championship and we've said this before, but I'm excited to see what he can do. 19th, who have you gone for?
I've gone for another promoted team. I've gone with Sunderland. I've spent a lot of money.
I've done the same.
You've done the same, so
Yeah.
we're same as that.
Currently.
I think they spent a lot of money, but we've seen a lot of teams come up and spend a lot of money. Burnley did it a few years ago and it didn't work for them. I rate the signing of Granit Xhaka. The rest of them, though, they're just so unproven, so risky. I like it. I like the being bold. I like the trying, but for me, I just don't see it coming off.
Yeah, so I always think that promoted team that comes up through the playoffs is going to struggle the most, obviously, because they've not quite... And Sunderland weren't bad last season by any means. You know, they were third all year, and they ended up coming up, obviously, as that third team out of the playoffs. So you can't say that, you know, they didn't deserve it, but the way they did come up, they kind of last minute against Coventry... Yeah. That was a coin toss for them to come up or to get into the final, and then that comeback. I thought they got dominated in that playoff final, to be honest. So I do think they're going to struggle. They've made some good signings. I do understand that they've got Xhaka obviously in. I don't even know how to pronounce some of the players' names, but yeah, there's a lot of unknown for me at Sunderland. I just think they're going to struggle. A lot of people are rating them with some of the signings they made. I do understand Xhaka's a good player, but you can't just bring in one or two good players and hope you're going to turn your side into a Premier League one. So as much as I think they'll do all right and they're not going to be like embarrassingly bad, I just think they'll come 19th.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Final spot, I've gone with Wolves.
I've gone for a third consecutive season of all three promoted
Really?
teams going down. I've gone for Leeds United.
Yeah, I can see that. I've gone with Leeds 17th, just to kind of rattle off those four at the bottom. The reason I've gone with Wolves is because they've lost some big players. I did like the manager when he first came in because he had a massive impact, but then after that he just fell off a cliff. Finished the season very, very poorly. I think they had a point in 4 or 5 games. And obviously we played them first game of the season, so I might get laughed at if they beat us, but I do just think they've sold a lot of players, and I've heard the argument, if they're in trouble, they always strengthen in January, but I think that can only get you out of jail so many times, and I think it could be their year to go down. They kind of threatened it last couple of seasons a bit, and I think Wolves will go down. The reason I've got Leeds just staying up is because if you look at their team, this was kind of mentioned yesterday on the overlap. Leeds is almost the entire team's like 6'4". It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They've got a massive squad of giants. They're going to look to play off the set pieces and basically just physically dominate everyone. And that's what a team like Southampton failed to do last season, have almost any physicality in the team. So I think, I might be wrong, but just to avoid being boring and sending them down as well, I've gone 17th. Who have you got 18th, 17th, mate?
Yeah, so obviously I've got Leeds in 18th because, for me, they've just not got enough Premier League experience in the window. They've not really done that much. 17th, I've gone very, very rogue. I've gone for West Ham United in 17th this season. It'll be a surprise to some people, but they looked really poor last year, I thought, and I really don't think they've got too much to them. The business doesn't look great. I've seen they're looking to sign a new goalkeeper that the clips I've seen, obviously it's just clips on Twitter, so you can't judge too much of this at all. But he does look a little bit ropey. He makes a few silly mistakes here and there. Potter, he did a great job at Brighton, but he really stank up at Chelsea, and he not done great so far at West Ham. I thought he'd have a much bigger impact last season. So I think it's going to be a long season for West Ham, and I think they could be in trouble. And don't get me wrong, they could easily come 9th and just prove me wrong. They're more than capable, but I really don't know about West Ham this season. Yeah,
for the next... I do get... when I come to talking about West Ham, I do agree with quite a bit of what you said. But, I don't think they'll quite be that low. I think last season, some of these teams at the bottom were so close, so it is almost a little bit arbitrary ranking them into specific positions.
Yeah.
Just because, like we've just said, United on the final day were 17th, and they could have been, 13th, but they ended up 15th. Do you know what I mean? They could have jumped around so much. So a lot of these teams are going to be in similar positions. Reel off for me, I want 16th, 15th, and 14th. The next three up.
So in 16th, I've gone for Brentford. I think it speaks for themselves. They've lost Thomas Frank. They're probably going to lose Visser. They've lost Mbuemo. I think a lot of people have them low this season. I've gone for Wolves in 15th for many of the reasons that you said they'd go down. I think they made a few okay signings, but I don't know too much about the signings.
Yeah.
And then 14th, I've gone for a very, very safe bet in Everton.
Yeah. A lot of similarity here. I've gone 16th, Palace, actually. I think with whatever European competition they're playing in. Yeah. I know we've already talked about this once before, and we both basically said they can, to an extent, if they're in the Conference League, just chuck a few like the squad players in some of those games. But at the same time, they're not Chelsea, so they're not going to have pure quality. They're going to have to use some of their players in that competition if they want to go far in it. So I think they're going to really struggle. I mean, they did come... I know they won the FA Cup. They came 12th last season. So it's not even that much of a drop to finish 16th. But I've gone Palace 16th. They're going to really struggle with the size of their squad. Also could potentially lose Eze. 15th, I've gone Brentford. Like you said, you've kind of mentioned everything I would have mentioned. I do kind of like the fact they've kind of brought a manager through the ranks, because we don't really often see that, and that's kind of the way Thomas Frank was brought through. Obviously, he's taken loads of his staff to Tottenham, so it's a difficult one for them to do. But they're continuing with their model, so I do kind of rate the consistency they've got. And 14th, just like you said, I've gone with Everton. I think Moyes will do an all right job. He's not really had the strengthening that he wanted in the transfer window, so I don't think they're going to be unbelievable, but I think they'll just about do enough. 14th, pretty solid finish.
I think Everton will be very solid this season.
Yeah, to complete the bottom half, I'm gonna give you these three here. West Ham 13th, not much in it compared to your prediction. You know, not far off. I mean, there's not much in it at all, to be honest. Bournemouth 12th. I think they've lost some big players, but I do rate Iraola as a manager very much. And the way they played against us in that first game last season, they dominated us. So
yeah, they were very good.
I do think he can do all right with them, and I think potentially 12th for them. And I've gone Fulham 11th. I don't think they made many signings at all, but I just think they're just decent. Fulham are just decent, and they got some good players. So yeah.
For me, I've gone for 13th Bournemouth, similar to you. They've lost a few players like Hoyson. I think they're going to lose Zabiani, but I back Iraola as a manager. I think it's a team they're tight-knit, so I think they'll be all right. They won't be sort of afloat with relegation as well, but I can't see much better than that. Palace have gone for 12th. I think Palace are a good team. They've not lost anyone yet. They've not lost Mateta.
Yeah.
Still got Wharton. Still got Guehi, Eze. But obviously Eze and Guehi, I think, are both linked with moves away still this summer. So that could change the things. But I think what's going to stop them progressing at the table is just European football. The fact that it's Conference League probably does help them in terms of the league, because, as we said, they might be able to rotate a few players here and there.
Yeah.
But I still think that will take priority, especially at the end of the season. If they know they're not getting relegated, they're going to go all out to win that competition. So I think they will fall down the league. And then in 11th place, I've gone for Nottingham Forest for a similar reason. They've got a good squad. They've kept hold of Gibbs-White, but they got a bit lucky last season in terms of XG was against them. I know it's not good to use XG as a sole basis. But I remember we spoke to the City technical guy, and he was saying over 1 or 2 games, don't use it, but over a season, it does generally show a story. And also they got Europe, and I think they will struggle with Europe on the side as well, especially given it's Europa League. So that's my 13th, 12th and 11th. Yeah,
I've got... I've already just told... Why am I saying I've just told you my 13th, 10th and 11th. Forest, I've got a little bit higher up. The reason I slightly disagree with the XG thing is just because they do try and absorb pressure. That is their entire play style.
Yeah.
I do get what you're saying. I don't think they'll do as well as they did last season. I'll give you my 10th, 9th and 8th, which are likely to all miss out on European spots. I've got Manchester United in 10th. I just think they're rubbish. They've spent a shed load in the transfer window. They've gone for proven.
Spent 80 million more on Sesko as well.
Yeah, exactly. So they bought Mbuma, they bought Cunha. What they've done is they've just shopped around all the teams that they're kind of competing with in the mid or bottom half of the table, and that will weaken the teams around them, but also they're Premier League proven players that will score goals. So I don't think the signings will do too badly at all. I just think it's such short-term thinking from them. But anyway, United 10th, which is still utterly embarrassing if they finish 10th. Last season, by the way, I'm pretty sure I put them 12th. Everyone laughed at me, and then I was actually well off, to be honest, because they were a lot worse. 9th.
You actually overrated them.
Yeah, exactly. 9th, Forest. I think there'll be a bit of a drop-off. I think, they'll have the little European expedition. So that'll distract them a little bit. But I think generally, they are a pretty solid team. I think Chris Wood will do well as well up front. He was banging the goals in last season. I don't think he'll be quite as good and as effective as he was last year, but I think he might get sort of 14, 15 goals. And then in 8th, just missing out on Europe, likely anyway, I've gone Brighton.
All very fair predictions. I'll do my 10, 9 and 8 then. So my 10th is Fulham, similar to you. They're very solid. I think the only reason they're this high up is simply because Palace and Forest have got Europe, and I think that just means that Fulham will just about get the edge on them. But nothing special for Fulham. Absolutely zero business done by them so far. 9th, I've gone for United again. I can't see them getting Europe, but there will be an improvement from last year. I do rate the signings, and Mbeumo and Cunha, they're not title-winning players. They're probably not even Champions League-winning players. Maybe Mbeumo is, but they're an improvement on what they had, definitely. So I think they'll both get 10 goals each. But you said enough about United, so I won't keep going on about them. And then 8th, I've gone for Aston Villa. I think Villa could experience quite a big drop-off. They've obviously got European football again. They ended last season very well, but they are weaker than they were at the end of last season. They've got no Asensio, no Marcus Rashford, both who did pretty decently for them. There's a chance they lose Ollie Watkins still in this window. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle go shopping there, given they've just lost out on Sesko. But still no business for Villa, and they've got the PSR concern. So I think it might be a bit of a disappointing season for Villa in the grand scheme of things, unless they can perform well in Europe.
Yeah, the PSR stuff with Villa's mad because they all moan about it, but they've spent a stupid amount on wages. I'm pretty sure it was like 90% of the revenue or something mad. So it's their own fault. Also, you're right, they did finish the season very well, but where did it really get them? Do you know what I mean? They completely choked that final game against United to lose out in the Champions League. But yeah, we'll take these positions one by one now. 7th, just because we're just talking about, I'll jump in and say I've gone with Aston Villa there. I think they'll get potentially that Conference League spot again, like they did a few seasons ago. But I think, they'll go full send in the Europa League. I think they'll do quite well. Emery's a great manager, especially in that competition. And I do think it will favour them maybe not being in the Champions League because, like you said, weaker competition. And that competition is a lot weaker than it used to be. If you think the Champions League now is 36 teams, there's 8 teams that used to drop down out of it of a decent standard that doesn't happen anymore. I think Villa will do all right. 7th, I think they'd probably take that now, and a bit of a run in Europe they'll be happy with. So if they can get what would that be, a 4th season in a row in Europe for them? If they can get a 7th place finish, I think they'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But who have you got 7th?
I've gone for Tottenham in 7th. Obviously, it's a really poor season for them last year in the league, 17th. But they won the Europa League, which is all that matters in the end. They qualified for the Champions League. I think Frank's a very decent manager. I think some of the business they've done, Kudus looks like a decent player. They've obviously lost Maddison potentially for the season, it looks like, if he's got that ACL injury, which isn't good news. I think they will do more business in the market. They've lost Heung-min Son. But I think that'll be a drastic improvement for Spurs this season. So I can see them getting into 7th. I think what stops them going higher is potentially a bit of a lack of squad depth, and they've got Champions League football on the side. Although I wouldn't be shocked if they're out of Europe fairly quickly. I think it'll be a solid season for Spurs, but nothing special.
I get that with Spurs. Who have you got 6th?
A bit of a rogue shout for me here. I've gone for Brighton.
Ooh.
And my reasoning for Brighton is they've not lost really anyone apart from João Pedro. They kept the likes of Baleba. They've not really brought anyone in. They brought Watson, the guy from Sunderland, who scored the winning player final goal, I believe. And they brought in an 18-year-old from the Arcos for quite a bit of money. But I think what will benefit them is they've got no Europe, and all the teams around them have got Europe to challenge with this season. So I think that will benefit them. I think they'll qualify for Europe. So I'm going to go for Brighton in 6th.
Yeah, okay, I rate that. And in 6th for me, I've gone Newcastle. I think they'll miss out on Champions League football. I think for these teams kind of surfacing up and pushing that top end of the table, it's so hard to get back-to-back European Champions League. Villa failed last season. Newcastle obviously failed the season before. And I think it's just really difficult for them to get in the top 4 or 5 and then get in it again because there's so much competition. City, Liverpool and Arsenal the last few seasons have been locked in to get into that. So there's only 1 or 2 spots extra. I think for me, I've gone Newcastle 6th. In the Champions League, I don't think they'll do very well. I think last time they were in it, I remember watching one of their games at the pub when I was at uni, and they beat PSG and everyone was gassing it up as this masterful performance. They were going to win the group. And, I said after that game, I think it was the first or second game, they had 4 points, top of the group. I said, I think they'll finish fourth, and they finished fourth in their group. And they were a bit unlucky with a couple of decisions, or whatever, but that's the Champions League at the end of the day. So I think they'll probably make it through the first phase, whether it's into that kind of second bracket or the top round of 16 bit. But I don't think they'll do unbelievably well in it. I think they'll probably get knocked out fairly quickly. But 6th for them would be a decent finish.
I'd agree with that.
5th. Now we'll class this as a Champions League spot, even though it might not be. But Tottenham. I think Tottenham will kick on. Like you said, Thomas Frank's a great manager. I think he's very systematic. I don't think it's quite rare you have a manager. I don't think he'll be as kind of like starstruck by being the Tottenham manager as like the likes of Nuno were. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that.
I think he'll be a bit more kind of used because after all, when he stepped into that Brentford role, he was in the same position really. He was an unknown guy. He didn't really, have much experience. So I think he'll do pretty well at Tottenham. People are tipping him to be sacked. I really don't see that at all because I think
I can't see that.
He's such a calm guy. He speaks very well, and I know that's got Amorim absolutely nowhere at United. But I do think the track record he's had with Brentford, taking them all the way from the Championship all the way up to the Premier League, he was obviously going to be headhunted at some point. And I think, like you said, could have some good signings. Maddison out for the season is not ideal, but I think Tottenham will do all right, and I reckon they'll come 5th.
I've gone for Newcastle in 5th. Obviously, one position different to you.
Yeah.
I think I disagree on the front of the Champions League. I think they will be okay in the Champions League.
You reckon?
I think it'll be similar to Villa, to be honest. I think they'll come either scrape into a top 8 or they'll do the playoff round. And it's all about draws really in the Champions League, isn't it? Obviously, you could get Real Madrid in the playoffs and they'd be out at that case. But equally, they could get Celtic and then Club Brugge in the next round. They're in the quarterfinals.
True.
They can give anyone a game on their day. So I think it'll be a quarterfinal finish for them. They've had an absolute stinker of a summer so far. Every player they've tried to sign has not wanted them.
Yeah.
They tried to keep hold of Isak. It looks like he's gone. My banking with Newcastle, though, is when they sell Isak, I think they've got to sign some players, and they're going to have a lot of money to sign players with once they do sell Isak. So I think they'll still have a big window, and I've got no idea who they're going to sign, but I back them to make good signings. So I'm kind of just gambling with Newcastle in 5th. It could easily not be the end of the window that they're hoping for, in which case I could maybe see them dropping down to 6th or 7th, to be honest. But I'm going to put them 5th this season.
Yeah, give us 4th and 3rd, mate.
So 4th place for me is going to be the Club World Cup winners Chelsea. They look solid, but I still don't think they're good enough to break into the top 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they go and win a cup this year, because on the day I think they're impressive, but I think that's still that consistency. It's still a young squad. There's still a lot of turbulence in terms of all the changes about the squad. So I also don't rate Maresca quite as highly as I think the other 3 managers in the league above them are. So they're my 4th place, and then 3rd place I have gone for Arsenal. Their 2nd place curse ends. I just don't think they look quite as good as Liverpool, and I think City will do better than them this season. So for me, it's going to be Arsenal dropping down. Echeverri is an interesting signing. I'm interested to see how he does. He's better than what they had before, so that's definitely an improvement there. But I just don't quite think they've got it in them to get above City and Liverpool this season.
Yeah, I've got Chelsea 4th as well and Arsenal 3rd, just the same as you, and I agree what you said. Gyökeres, I think he's a good player. I've actually, weirdly enough, seen a lot of him because I watched a bit of him when he was at Coventry, just in that playoff run they had a couple of seasons ago. Didn't really know of him at Brighton, but I just see him and Gustavo Harmer at Coventry were very good, and he was banging the goals in the Championship. So when he got that move, out into Europe to Sporting, I thought he could do pretty well here. Didn't expect him to score anywhere near as many goals as he did. Obviously got the hat-trick against us. 2 were penalties, but he looked quite tidy. And I think he will be a good signing, but I think, in my eyes, he gets sort of 18 Premier League goals. I don't think he's going to be touching anywhere near 25, 30 that you'd be expecting from like a Haaland or someone, or an Isak. So, I think he'll be a decent signing for Arsenal. Chelsea, like you said, Club World Cup did very well to win that, but I think they will burn out a little bit, maybe in the mid-season, just because they played that many games. But I think a good start and a good end will probably correct that for a 4th place finish. Cole Palmer, I think, will be reaching the heights he has done for Chelsea in the past. And I think João Pedro is a good signing as well. So, Chelsea just have such a mass of players, and they turn over so many players as well. But I think they'll do pretty well because, like I said, don't rate him as highly as some of the other managers, but I think Maresca is a good manager. But yeah, second and first, Alex, they're going to have to come together, obviously.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to do, sadly, second place Manchester City, first place Liverpool. I think we've improved the squad a lot. I think we've done a lot to improve it. We've youngened the team. It's way more energetic now, and that was a big issue last season. We ended last season very well. I think if you look at the second half of last season, I believe we got the most points out of anyone in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a little bit distorted by the fact that Liverpool just sort of threw the last 3 or 4 games away. But still, even then, we'd be the second best team, and since then we've improved the team quite a lot. I still think we're lacking a right back, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. I think our biggest issue is just that Liverpool were champions last year and they've improved the team a hell of a lot. What's your top 2?
So if you're going to think I was agreeing with you, you'd be absolutely wrong. I've actually got Liverpool second and City first. I've got to be optimistic. I think the signings in January could have gone a little bit better in the sense that Nico didn't really make an unbelievable impact. It's maybe not his fault, getting used to the system, all that stuff. The Rodri's shoes were always going to be difficult to fill, and I don't know if that's actually his out-and-out position. Kuzanov came in, made a great impact, and then kind of didn't really get picked again, which was a bit strange. But Marmoush was 10 out of 10 for me. I genuinely don't know if we get top 4, top 5 without him. It was quite tight in the end. I think that goal against Bournemouth was unbelievable. Some of the other goals he got against Newcastle. He's a great player, Marmoush. So I think we have got an injection of quality, obviously, in January. Vitor Reis obviously going out on loan. And then in the summer, I like it. I think Reinders is exactly what we need, carrying the ball forward. He's got the legs in midfield, which is what we were missing. Rodri's going to be back, maybe not to his best straight away, like we've already said before, but I do really like Reinders. And then obviously Cherky, a lot of flair going forward. He's going to be creating chances, causing chaos. And Aït-Nouri at left back's exactly what we need to kind of unlock some of our other attacking plays as well. Covered obviously by Gvardiol at left centre back, who's played that position himself for at least a year. So I do like the way the defence is looking. The right back is the one place you could question, but Liverpool, I think they're a great side. My hot take is that they're not actually going to do as well as last season, in the sense that I don't think they'll win the league, because Frimpong coming in, Wirtz, they have made some unbelievable signings. Ekitike. Will they get Alexander Isak? Maybe, but I still think that model doesn't really work. Like, they are just signing huge names all over the board. Yeah, that kind of Galactico model. The last time I've seen that of any European team to kind of think about is PSG, and they had Messi, Neymar and Mbappe. On paper, you play that on FIFA and they'd win 10-0 in every game, but I just don't know if it quite works. I think you've got to build a team, and I do think they could almost overpopulate the team with these big names. I think Slot's a good manager as well. He did really well last season. But last year they were a surprise package to everyone. They went and won the league almost unexpectedly. And now there's going to be heaps of pressure on them. They're the favourites to win the league by a decent way. Arsenal second and City third. But yeah, I think we could surprise them. This reminds me a lot of that 2017-18 season where we obviously signed lots of players, spent a lot of money, and it all just came together and we got 100 points. So, yeah. Yeah,
can't argue with that logic, to be fair. I agree with a lot of what you said. I think there is a risk for Liverpool with the new signings maybe not gelling. I think there's a similar risk at City with, we have made a lot of changes, so will they gel?
Yeah.
Again, it could go either way. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we do in the league. We're more than capable. I think as we saw again in that Juve game in the Club World Cup, what we can be, and if we are that, then we're going to be unstoppable next season, and we absolutely could win the league. But I'm just not 100% sold yet, but I really, really hope you're right at the end of the season.
Yeah, right. So that's our predictions. If you agree, disagree, obviously leave a comment down below, let us know. But just another couple of things. I want to get off you your top scorer, Golden Boot winner. I want your top assister. And I also want your Golden Glove contender.
Right, Golden Boot. I'm going to play it simple. I'm just going to say Erling Haaland.
Yeah, I agree.
It will be 30 plus goals for Erling Haaland next season.
Yeah.
I expect at least. My top assister, given Erling Haaland's going to get the Golden Boot, I'm going to go with Ryan Cherky.
Okay.
It'll be Ryan Cherky or Phil Foden. I'm going to go Cherky, but Phil Foden could equally be the man that ends up getting the assist with Haaland. And my Golden Glove contender, I think, will be... I hope we David Raya for Arsenal. I don't think Arsenal will concede many goals. They're good defensively.
Yeah.
I think with City, the issue is I think Trafford and Edison will be sharing games, which will be an issue. And with Liverpool, similarly, they've got I don't know how to pronounce his name, Marmishvili or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he will play a few games instead of Alistair as well. So I think for that reason, Raya will get the Golden Glove.
Yeah, I agree with Haaland. I agree with Raya. I'm going to go Cole Palmer top assister.
That's a good job.
Because I think the kind of his passing range and stuff's unbelievable. We saw a bit of it last season. He got quite a few assists last season as well, but he obviously went off the boil a bit second half. I just think he's a joke, to be honest. So I think Cole Palmer, don't think he'll be hitting like mad numbers, but I think he'll be getting sort of 14 assists and that'll be enough for him to win it. Haaland will be getting 30 goals and David Raya will get probably 20 clean sheets. So, 15, 20 clean sheets, I'd say. And that's our Premier League predictions. Like I said, if you agree, disagree, leave a comment down below. But the one thing we've got to finish off with, Alex, is the final quiz you're going to do. You need 5 answers to win. You need 4 to draw and 3 would lose. Would mean you lose. Question 1. What was the score last time City played Wolves? So obviously we were taking them on first game of the season. What was the score last time we played Wolves?
Wait, the last time we played them, last time we played them first game of the season?
Last time we played them, full stop.
It was 1-0. Kevin De Bruyne scored in his final goal at the Etihad.
Correct. 1 out of 1. How many goals in the Premier League did Erling Haaland get last season?
I'm going to guess... Actually, no, I'm going to get 24.
I was going to give you 1 either side, and you've not quite got it. It's 22. He started so strongly. Obviously, the whole team was off the boil later in the season. Yeah. He was injured as well, 22. So you now need to go 3 for 3, Alex.
Yeah.
To get,
not good.
Obviously, a draw. Question 3. Which player signed for Manchester City in 2020, leaving for Barcelona just 18 months later?
Ferran Torres.
That's correct. He needs to go 2 for 2. How many assists, because obviously we've just done about the assist there, did Kevin De Bruyne get in the 2017-18 season, winning the Playmaker Award?
Well, he didn't break the record, given that was 1920. I'm going to go with 18.
I've won the quiz, Alex! So the answer was 16. So him and Sané went into the final day against Southampton with 15 each. If you'd thought about it more, you'd have defo known this if you'd thought about it, because him and Sané went into the final day 15 each, and like you said, then he just got the assist to Jesus. So Alex, this is just for pride now. Can you get within 1 of me? And it is a fairly tough question. Manchester City qualified for Europe in the 2002-2003 season, but what position did we finish in the league?
What season did you say? 2002, 2003?
Yeah, we qualified for Europe in that season, but what position did we finish in the league?
I'm going to guess that we qualified through fair play rather than ability, and I'm going to say 14th. You
know what? It's a great shout. You're right with the logic, and I would have probably said 12th myself. And I knew that this was the year. Obviously, for the next season, we got into the 03-04 Europa Cup, as it was called. The logic's spot on. Not unfortunately, it was 9th. I didn't think it was that high, to be honest. Straight out the second tier and into 9th. So not bad from us back then, but. That does bring an end to this episode of the podcast. If you're watching on Spotify, the numbers are going up. We do appreciate it. The followers, well over 400 now. So, leave a follow on Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, it will help us out. Leave a comment, obviously, with your thoughts. We'll be rattling through some of your questions next week after the Palermo game. Just ahead of the Wolves game, we'll obviously preview that game as well. Anything else you want to say, Alex?
Not really, just looking forward to getting the football back. Palermo this weekend, City are finally back. It's been a long time coming, but we're at the start of the season now, very exciting.
Yeah, should be good, mate. Enjoy the rest of Turkey. Send it our regards
Thank you
for, that's where we won the treble. But that's the end of episode 11, like I said. Please like, comment and subscribe. You're watching on YouTube. Drop us a Spotify follow. And like we said last time, just share the podcast anywhere. Drop that link into any chat, email box, DM, comment section you can. And send it to your mum and your dad. Nice one.